Here with RJ Farrell, associate head coach, Orange Lutheran, but 12U USA world champ manager. So, RJ, thanks for jumping on with me.
Hey man, thank you. Appreciate being here. And it got a little bit of goosebumps there when you said World Cup manager. It
It's
was,
so good, man. It's so good. I always pull for the infield guys, so it's fun to watch our infield guys do well.
yeah, I mean, it's a tight knit community we have of us, of those guys that like to use the web and the dirt. So yeah, it's always fun to catch up with you and everyone around the country.
You've been with USA Baseball for a while now. Just for anybody that doesn't know, like how you got involved, why you got involved, because you've been with USA Baseball for a while now.
Yeah, I think this was my ninth or 10th summer. I think it's I'm starting to act like I know what I'm doing, I guess. My entrance into USA Baseball was really kind of a fluke. There was an event being held here in Southern California, in LA at the Urban Youth Academy, and there was a late no-show. A guy from the South, I can't remember if it was a flight issue, family issue, for whatever reason, a coach from the South couldn't make it. And guys here, like, hey, we got a guy pretty local. He'll come down and work for the weekend. I got the call, said yes. And, later that summer, I was at another event and then another event. And then the next summer, I got called again. So really, it was just kind of, I answered my phone at the right time and then, went to work once I got the opportunity.
This is your USA Baseball's first look at the kids, right? 12U. I mean, there's nothing before 12U, correct?
Yeah, we have the 10U Futures Invitational, which is kind of it's not something that really gets evaluated or scouted, I guess. We do have task force members there just to kind of have eyes around in case there's a possible dime in there that could be a go right now. But yeah, 12U is our first opportunity to see these young men. Typically, it starts at the 11U NTIS, which is held in Cary. And that's where we kind of start building reports on these guys. It's kind of a unique process, being that these young men are so young. There's no history on these kids. We're really just seeing them raw, how much they love baseball and like what they're doing. It's so pure. And then when we get to the end stages of it, to see the talent level of these young men that make it through, it's pretty special. I know baseball is in an okay place in our country. We're going to be good for a while.
Yeah, USA Baseball's hot, but these are long days for those kids. I was over there during the trials with you guys. I came over and filmed some of the warm up stuff, but you guys were going all day. For anybody who doesn't know your guys' schedule, like that's a lot for a 12-year-old kid to have to get through that schedule.
Yeah, to be honest, I think it's a lot for a 15U and 18U because, to be honest, we kind of keep the same type of model, if you will. Obviously, it's got to be skewed. It's got to be skewed for a 12-year-old compared to a 17-year-old. But a typical day for us, we're up at whatever the wake up call is that day for a team meeting and breakfast. Back to our rooms, possible position meetings before we leave for the field. Head to the field. Depending on the day, you got your bullpens running on one side, you got your infield work, outfield work going all over. Circle back in for a little meeting again, go into BP sessions, get off our feet, get some lunch. BP sessions again, go into some sort of scrimmage inter squad game, and then dinner, team meeting. Hopefully some sort of USA focused talk, speaker, something like that at the end of the night. And then by 9:30, lights out is a pretty easy thing for these young men because they're ready to go to sleep.
And that's by design, correct? Because you get to international play. You guys played 8 games in 8 days. You're 8-0. I mean, that's by design, right? Because you're gonna have to figure out like immediately who can handle that type of stress and scheduling, correct?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think especially with this youngest group that we have at USA Baseball. By the time they get to us, we see the talent level, right? I mean, they're all dudes; they all can play. So now it's a matter of who's got maybe a little bit more maturity factor to them, who can handle themselves when it's not quite going the way that they're accustomed to. Um, I'm a dad of a 7 and a 5-year-old. Like, I can only imagine what either of them are going to be like at 12, and the type of length of leash that I will have and allow them to have at 12. A lot of these kids, they don't really spend the night friends' houses yet, or they're not, you know what I mean? They're just young puppies in this game. So we do have to kind of, shock the system a little bit just to see who can handle it. Cause, it's a learning curve on both sides. But ultimately, like this summer, my staff and I were tasked to go win a gold medal. And we had to vet those kids as best as we could to make sure we had the right 18 getting on the plane.
And I love your guys' staff. Just give your staff some love because I love the guys that are on your staff and the guys that helped out too. It's not just the four of you. There was multiple guys over helping out, trying to make that thing work.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if it's not for all the others, it's my job is impossible. It goes to our operations team. Will Schwarr, Lauren Key, just handling stuff behind the scenes. Ben Kelly showed up late to after he was done with his other assignment, showed up to travel with us. I mean, what they do organizationally for us, calendar wise, making sure everything's in line. I mean, they allow us to coach and be baseball guys as much as we can. Our trials staff, comprised of guys from all over the country. A few that I've worked with before, a couple of guys getting their first shot. I mean, the baseball knowledge that's coming out of these guys that these 12-year-olds are getting to get, it's crazy. And what makes these guys special is their ability to talk about it in such a simple manner to where a 12-year-old baseball player can understand what we're trying to say. And then you get to the actual staff. And I mean, I couldn't have been set up in a better spot. We had a couple, Eric Johnson was supposed to be on staff. Unfortunately he had a shoulder injury, had to have surgery, so he couldn't go. So, I was able to add Troy Gerlach out of Arizona, who, I mean, come on, want to catching and hitting going. There's really nobody that you can just sit down and learn from better than him. Also out of Arizona, I had Tanner Vesely, who is I don't know.
He's a veteran USA guy too.
He's got so many gold medals. I don't even know what to do.
Yep.
And his ability to work with base runners and outfielders, I mean, it's second to none. We had Seth Kenny out of Chicago, our pitching coach, who I learned so much from this summer, just watching him and the way he attacks things and what he sees.
Good pedigree really too, because he came from the college side, but he's been on the youth side forever now. So he's seen youth kids up close for a long time now out of Chicago.
Yeah, he knows everybody. He's one of those guys. He has a comp to everybody.
Yeah.
They made my job easy, man. Like I just had to go manage games. They handled the rest of it. It was a really good group. We clicked. Like I said, it's top to bottom. It's the people you see. It's the people you don't see that make this thing work.
And you had hard decisions. It wasn't like, I was there the last day before you're going to make decisions. You guys were still trying to grind it out to figure out who was going to go on that last day.
Oh, for sure. We went into the last day, we had about 2, maybe 3 spots, and we had 8 to 10 guys that were legitimate, could make it happen. We ended up going with the puzzle we did. But I try and say, whether it's this age group or the olders, at that, when you're in that final 36 or 40, whatever it is, there's not one kid being cut from those things, right? It's a selection because however the staff is looking at the puzzle that they want to take, right? That's what it comes down to. There's a lot of times where kid could have a great tournament, but hey, Coach Farrell wanted to take an additional left-handed arm. Well, if you're a right-handed outfielder, you're out at that point, right? So it's not like you did anything wrong. It's just a matter of what they think it's going to take to win that tournament. And we had some really difficult decisions to make. We kept some really, really good baseball players home, and that's never easy to do. But from
how many dual guys? Because you can only take 20. So how many dual pitcher position players did you get?
We had 8. We could only take 18, and we had 12 guys that could pitch, and 10 of them were two-way guys. Yeah.
I mean, without really seeing the field, did you feel pretty comfortable going into it with what you were taking?
I knew we were going to be offensive. It always just comes down to pitching, right? We felt like we had a very deep pitching staff. We didn't have maybe some of the electric type arms that have been at the 12U's in the past in terms of just upper end velocity and the ability to land like a changeup. We kind of had just guys that were just battle strike throwers. So we knew that going in, and we were perfectly comfortable with it. We had a plan in place to how we were going to use our arms because we knew the next guy was going to be able to go, and if someone didn't have it that day, we'll just move on. But we knew based off of the class that we were seeing, we were going to have to put together a lineup that was going to be really, really long. And I think we were able to do that. It's crazy. You see some of these arms out of these other countries, man, they're 12, but it's 87, 8, or 77, 80 miles an hour. And it's got cut and sink. And it's like, man, like, okay, let's hopefully we can get to a bullpen today because, some of those frontline guys are really impressive.
Man, what was the message to those guys? I mean, this is probably their first real experience with any sort of tournament like this. What was your message to those guys?
Well, first it was because none of these guys ever sit, right? They play every inning. If they pitched the Saturday morning game, they're playing short Saturday afternoon, and on Sunday they're playing third and probably coming into relief again, right? However it were. So that was the first thing, is understanding. We got them to buy into the fact that we have a plan for each game, and our job over here is to win baseball games. I think what paid off, what really helped in terms of guys buying into that, was early in the tournament. We had some, I know it looks like we did kind of blow some teams out, but early in games, it was really tight. So we made a lot of moves early in the tournament, getting guys off of the bench. So they saw like, oh, my job, I could really have an opportunity to impact the game at any time. So I think that helped us really good there. But all through trials, we talked about it, and that was, really one of the decision factors probably with a lot of guys is, do we think he can handle not being the everyday guy? Can he be a role guy? And can he not, right? Like, because we couldn't take somebody over there that we didn't think would be able to vibe with that if we thought that might be where they were going to be asked to do. So yeah, it was constant, man. It was constant conversation, build up, team first. We use the analogy of like a clock or an engine. Like, everything has to be going together. If we have one thing comes off, that car breaks down, the clock stops working. So, man, I got to give to these kids, man. They bought in, and it was so much fun to be with them.
Re-entry with that age group? Do you have a re-enter?
Yeah, there's a re-entry, so that helps.
Yeah, big time. And I mean, again, like I said, I love going to watch you guys work, just the whole thing. Colin Anderson was the one, I still go off my eyes of being a college coach, and I'm like, okay, I never really went to many 12U games. I did the Junior Futures games for PBR a couple years, but Colin Anderson was the one guy that I circled just with his frame. I'm like, okay, he's still wiry, but he had a great tournament for you guys.
He did. Second game of the tournament, or after the first game, we're like, hey man, I brought him and two other guys together. I was like, look, you guys are all in the same little bubble right now. Like, depending on the arm, depending on the game, like, just be ready to go. And I think he took that as, I need to start hitting a lot of home runs, because once we had that conversation, he really it wasn't even a second thought to take him out of the lineup. He's truly special now. And, you mentioned frame. Like, I think that's a frame that projects.
Yes.
I think it's a swing that
there's
doesn't really
still a lot more room for growth with his frame. Now, will he get, but he just looks like at that age, like he's still going to get taller. Yeah. He's still going to fill out, but he has some present strength and athleticism now for a 12-year-old kid. It's just really impressive to see.
Yeah, and then, his bat to ball skill was just, look, and it wasn't just, he was taking pitches that he didn't like. He was sitting in, like, we had different types of approaches against different guys, obviously. And he's one of those guys that at 12 is like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So I'm going to let that one go because you guys are saying I'm getting this one later. And when he got it, he just didn't miss. And he played a really good defense too. Like he was all around he was really, really impressive.
You think that helps you guys using the USA bats, and then you go to international play and they heat back up, right? You can use the hot bats in international play?
Yeah, I mean, like Colin Anderson, we had multiple balls with the USA bat of 90 miles an hour. So we knew when he got the other bat, like, um, but the other side is those teams are all physical and they're doing their thing and they're using those bats. So that's just yeah. WBSC determines which bats we use. That's not a USA thing.
What are some other things and conversations that you have to have with them? You know, you talked about kids have never sat before. These are the best, but may go to international play, and you're going to face a kid maybe throwing harder than you've ever seen before. What are some of those other conversations with them about how to handle that?
We tried to prep them as much as we could with like adversity. Like you've probably never felt it before, and it's okay. So I mean, you were around a little bit of trials, and then even when we got into training, like we did everything we could to make them fail before we left. That way, when it happened, we could coach them through it as much as we could. But yeah, I mean, when you get over there and all of a sudden Taipei is throwing a 3/4 lefty who's throwing a breaking ball that, I mean, you can say it's coming from, 2 o'clock or whatever, but it's like 230 plus and it's, hammering down on your back foot. Yeah, they've never seen it. So it's just a matter of just getting them to buy in. This team offensively bought into just taking the ball backside and good things happened with us that way. And our pitchers were told just command zone. And if you get hit, you get hit. Like the other teams are really good too. So you just do your job. But it was, I mean, we had to deal with a lot with the COVID restrictions we had to deal with, the quarantine we had to deal with. This group, I think the quarantine actually kind of bonded us together because we couldn't leave our little area for 3 days. We're running practices in the hallway. I got video. I'll send you some video, man. We got like the throw gloves on and we're going through like double plays and everything in there. We got smush balls we're hitting with our hands just to get them doing something. Yeah. Note to the crazy coaching staff they sent. But yeah, I think we bonded through that. So.
And this is fourth championship for the 12Us, correct? So how many of those have you been a part of?
On the World Cup side, I've been a part of 2, and Copabe, so our qualifier, Pan Am's, I've been 1. So this was my 3rd gold medal. Yeah.
Team's pretty similar.
This one was definitely led by the offense. 18 was led by the offense. 17 could pitch. I say that, and then I'm starting to think like now where these guys are committed to go and pitch. I'm like, what am I talking about? Yeah, they're good. This was the team though that probably lacked the most velocity on the mound. I mean, we still had 2 guys that could run it up there, but we ended up going with kind of just the strike throwers, and it worked for us this year.
I mean, you've seen it firsthand. We talked about that before we got on. I mean, you've seen it firsthand that maybe the best 12-year-old doesn't always end up being the best 15 or best 18-year-old, but that's not your responsibility and that's not your job. But you've seen all of that firsthand. Like maybe a kid got cut from the 12U team, makes the 15U or 18U team because he's just not there yet.
Yeah, 100%. I think obviously there's no doubting physicality is an aspect of our game at all levels. But especially at 12 years old, like you got kids that are all over the spectrum of how they started that process yet or not.
But your middle guys weren't very physical. I mean, as far as height.
Yeah. No.
Your middle guys were teeny guys that could do everything. That was the cool thing, and I'm a middle guy, so I appreciate guys that age that can do everything. They could make every play they needed to make as a middle infielder.
Well, that we knew. So, like in terms of those 2 specifically, TK and Max, we knew that the rest of our offense was going to be really strong. And they were like Max, our second baseman, won the home run derby out at Futures, right? Like he can hit. But we wanted, and I'm a middle guy, right? Like we talked infield, like my middle was good. The middle we were putting out there was going to pick everything. Yeah. They were going to be the best middle in the world. And that's what we went for with them. But yeah, physicality plays, and we just never know if these guys are ever going to get an opportunity to put on the USA jersey again. We really don't know. So I feel like it's my job. I mean, I've been working with the 12s for a long time now, is to ingrain in them what the USA way is, show them some things, hear things about the game and life differently that hopefully they can carry back to their hometowns and work through it that way. And man, if they get a shot again or one of their friends get a shot again, great. If not, man, hopefully they can look back and be like, that experience was second to none.
What is the USA way? I mean, when you hear that and you say that compared to maybe what they haven't participated in or heard before, they get to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty dynamic. Like we're looking for young men who are uncommon in terms of the way that they go about their work and the way that they treat people, um, because there's going to be plenty of talented players out there that we can select from and find and put good teams together. But it's you know personally, like when I'm looking at it and I'm maybe looking at player A and player B and I'm talking, all right, who's the USA guy? How are they acting in the parking lot? So I'm watching you from the tower already. Like, are you being rude to your mom and dad after a bad game? Right? Like the custodian or the field maintenance people who are working around, are you like making their job harder? Are you helping them out? Right? In the hotel lobbies, like, are you rushing into
It doesn't happen often, but it does every once in a while. And I could just tell it froze, and I was like, "Uh oh, he's not coming back," which is fine.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
just retouch on that. So, how they handle in the parking lot, and just again, the USA way.
Yeah, so I mean, we're just trying to evaluate everything, man. Character plays, and you know, to be a good person, it shouldn't be that difficult of a thing. But we got to make sure that we're taking good people with us. We're going to other people's homelands, right? We're going to their countries, and we have to represent our country properly. We can't cause any incidences over there, right? And we need to know that the people that we're taking with us are good people. So yeah, I mean, we're watching everything. Personally, like I said, I'm watching everything I can, waiting for you to make a mistake. Really, I know that sounds bad, but I'm really waiting for you to make a mistake. It's kind of going back to like when I was a college recruiter, right? Like, why am I going to bring you into my family? What's the reason I don't want to bring you to my school? And it's kind of the same thing.
I would tell our players that all the time. I'm like, the pro scouts are trying to look for reasons to cross you off. They have a huge job. There's a lot of good players out there, so they're looking for reasons to not draft you. So give yourself the best opportunity to get a chance.
Yeah, like my line to guys is, we only play the game for so long. Um, don't let something off the field stop you from playing as long as you can. Like, make it be baseball, right? The game passed you up. It got too fast, whatever it is. That's fine. We can all deal. I think we all can look in the mirror. It happened to me. It happened, right? One day I looked in the mirror. I was like, I'm done. Right. But I think if I had looked in the mirror and gone like, man, I did this, and this off the field that caused me to not play anymore, I'd probably be regretting some things.
Did you guys call pitches for your guys?
Yes.
Every pitch?
Yeah, just about every pitch. We had a couple of guys that got into rhythm that we let go. But yeah, we dictated everything from the dugout. Yeah.
I mean, without really seeing those teams, how much prep work could you guys do without really seeing the teams that you're going to play?
Coach, I am nuts when it comes to scouting. I don't care if I'm doing 12-year-olds.
Could you find film on the guys that you're going to play?
Found a little bit of film. I'm not going to lie, I did look.
I would have done the same thing.
But we would.
I would have done
the games over there. They're all televised, so we can go back and go through the streams, and then when we had the opportunity, we were sitting on fields watching the other teams play. I am, ask Coach Bourbon, my head coach Olu. I am a little bit over the top when it comes to scouting and having to report when we walk on a field. And yeah, I took that same approach with these 12-year-olds.
I mean, there are other similarities with how you're handling your Orange Lutheran guys and the 12U guys.
Yeah, I mean, you got to, I don't want to say dummy down, but you got to lessen some of the things, obviously. But in terms of like our infield routines that we were going through, like pregame and practice, pretty much the same. Our BP routines, when we get over there, you only get 20 minutes for BP, but like our other routines, very similar to the way our high schools are running it. Tried to keep it at that clip. I think we as coaches, that's where we're comfortable working at that. Okay, this is what we like. So if we change stuff and we're kind of iffy, then the kids are going to be like, well, what do we got? If we're just like, hey, this is how it's done, they just follow the lead. So yeah, I ran it just about as we would here. Yeah, it was.
I mean, how much
Yeah,
does it help you with Orange Lutheran, the type of schedule that you guys play? I mean, you guys flew all the way out to Cary and played in the National High School Tournament. How much does it help you in that setting because you're already playing a really competitive high school schedule?
yeah. I mean, I think it's fun. Like I don't know. I pinch myself sometimes. I don't know how like I got the opportunity to, coach it. I believe one of the best high school baseball programs in the country. I have a really, really good job here. Um, got in with USA and been able to work with some of the top athletes in the country at the national level. Like, yeah, I think they kind of both play off of each other, but maybe more importantly, it's the people that I've met through it, on the USA side, or then on the high school side, when we get to travel around and be around some of the other high school programs and see how they do it. And you know how it is, man. Like, you get baseball guys in a room, we're not really hiding anything. We're good with sharing stuff. So, yeah, I think that's probably where the most of my growth has come, is just from sitting down with guys like you or wherever we're at and just talking shop. And next thing you got a new idea.
I mean, what has Eric Bourbon meant to your career?
Huh. Man, he gave me my first coaching gig out of college at De La Salle. Um, then he took the Orange Lutheran job. I stayed and coached in college for a couple years. You know how that goes. I was done there. Um, that was back in the recession, so I lost my house when I lost my college job. He gave me a spot to work for a year again, down at Orange Lutheran. So I moved down to Southern California. Then when I took a head job for 7 years after that, and he gave me an awesome recommendation to go there and do that. He's actually the one who called me that day that USA was looking for a guy here at Urban Youth. He's the one that called and got me there, and then now I'm back with him here. Yeah, he's been a very integral part of my growth and my career, and yeah, it gets kind of emotional thinking about had him and I not crossed paths, where I could be, I don't know, but fortunately God put us in the right lane, and it's been great. He's one of my best friends, if not my best friend. He was the officiant of my wedding, so yeah, our families go way back. So, and to be able to coach his son now is.
I was going to ask you, do you take a little pressure off him having to coach Casey?
Yeah, I think so.
Because he said it in Cary. I asked him that when I interviewed him out in Cary, and I asked him about the father-son relationship, and he was like, "Hey, my assistants handle most of Casey's day-to-day stuff."
Yeah. Me and Casey basically just hang out together. I let him have his dad talk time when he needs to, talk about his dad, because all teenagers need to talk about their dad. But they actually do. They work really well together. I mean, I've known Casey since he was 2, so. It's cool to see the type of player he's turned out to be.
And I mean, really good left side of the infield. I mean, I'd put those guys up against some college left side of the infield. What you had at Orange Lutheran this year?
Yeah. I mean, last year Mikey Romero at short. The year before Justin Cristo at short. Casey locking it down at third both years. It was really fun to watch. Kind of cool going into this year because we've graduated. Like, I got a whole new group of infielders to get to work with, man.
Where are you going to start with the new guys? Where are you going to start with those new infielders?
So we started last week, the 6th. The 6th was our first day of throwing. And we were going throwing program, right? This is how we play catch. Because our throwing program, by the time you're done with it, you're supposed to be really sweaty and have made every play, simulated every play, and that's something they don't ever do, right? They just throw to get the arm loose. We throw to get better. So we've gone through that, and then we had one day where we started talking hip hinge and heel toe connection with ball glove strike, and that's where we're at. And I think it's those basics that they have to get, because by the time in a couple of weeks we start adding on, they got to know when I'm saying, hey, your hip hinge in the 2 lane is coming out early. They need to know what I mean, even if they can't correct it yet. So yeah, it's all terminology right now, all super, super basic fundamental based, basic for what I consider basic fundamental based. Um, and then tomorrow, or sorry, today, we'll be back out on the field. It's going to be the first time the couple returners get to start teaching a little bit. Now I'm
Love
going
it.
to gauge kind of where they're at, right? What do you guys really remember? What'd you forget?
Love it. What's the volume first day out of the shoot? You know, assuming guys maybe haven't played catch in a while, what's volume for those guys throwing first day out of the shoot?
Yeah, so we we have a plan. We have a throwing plan in place before they get here, like in terms of where your arm should be. That way we don't have to. But you know how it is. Day one, you got to see how they're actually moving, right? So their volume, our throwing program lasts about 17 minutes ish. That's including our rundowns, our flips, our picks, all that. That's all included. And we go, yeah, they'll probably get, depending on how that arm feels that day. I let them work to the long toss distance that they choose. If a guy all of a sudden doesn't long toss for 4 days in a row, we got a problem. But I think the arm, Alan, right? The arm's going to tell you what the arm wants to do that day, and the body's going to let him know. So I let them kind of work out. So their long toss volume is really individualized. But in terms of each skill set, it's 3 to 5 throws or reps, and we have 8, depending on the day, we have 8 to 11 skill sets. So
Full J band circuit before they start throwing.
Yeah, and that's kind of individualized a little bit. I let players kind of decide what they like, what they don't. If they're a pitcher, though, so they're a two-way guy, they always start with my pitching coach, and they go through that routine before they come to us. So I have a little different infield throwing program for those guys. That's a big communication thing between Coach Hall and myself.
How do you manage that in season with your two-way guys with their pitching work and their infield work?
Yeah, I mean, it's load based off of what if. Fortunately, here we haven't really had any starters that have been infield guys. A few years ago, we had Max Bragic, but we kind of just played him at first or DH'd him, right? That just took care of that. More of our guys right now that we could see possibly being two ways are going to be relievers. So they're short spurt guys out of the pen. So we're just training the arm to be able to do that.
They just got to be able to maintain feel. With your bullpen two-way guys, you just got to give them a little bit off the slope every once in a while so that they don't lose their feel.
Yeah, especially if they're going to be a primary infielder, you got to be able to throw from the holes. Your angles still have to be good with our arms. So they just got to get down the slope, feel that. So if they get called on, right.
What'd you think of the infield hot stove?
It was great, man. It was great.
Fun.
Yeah, it was fun stuff. It's crazy. You get in there, you start talking, and it's like, dude, we could do this for hours.
I felt bad. The rookie mentorship. We do pre stuff with the hotel. So the McCormick place, we do our pre meeting. Multiple days. We're there by Sunday before, and we have our first meeting with everybody on that Monday. And they didn't let me know that they were going to lock up the parking lots. So the rookie mentorship meeting went till after midnight on Thursday night because I was like, this is great. We're in a good flow. We're just going to keep going. Well, I get a call from somebody who's like, hey, I'm locked in the parking lot. So I was trying to put this fire out till 3 o'clock in the morning. Luckily, I went down to the front desk and they sent somebody over there to get him out. But finally I was like, hey, you can come sleep in my room if you need to. If I was like, but I didn't know. So that's why we shut things down a little bit earlier the next couple of nights because I was like, I don't want anybody getting locked into the parking lots.
Yeah, no, being able to get where you're supposed to go is good. But I thought it was great, man. Just hearing way different guys say the same thing differently or look at something a little differently and have their opinion on it. It's awesome, man. The hot stoves are great. You can have different reasons to be at the coaching convention, right? And if you're looking to build and learn and network, besides just the casual organic stuff that happens in the hallways, which I advise everyone getting those when they're happening because they're great. The hot stoves are amazing. Unless you have to listen to me talk, and then
Stop.
I'm sorry.
Hey, so when you get the whole team together then at Orange Lutheran, what's the first team stuff you guys start with?
So you talking like when we finally build the varsity team out, or
Yeah, when you're finally all together.
yeah, we will first thing we'll do is we'll get in the classroom and we will make sure we understand our different offensive calls. All right, this is the system. Does anyone from the fall have questions with what any of this means? Um, and then we will continue to crush PFPs, bunt Ds, first and thirds. Like that has to be locked in because we don't want to really work on that all year. I'll be honest. Like I don't want to do. I'm not the coach that does first and thirds and bunties 4 times a week. Like I'm not. I literally can probably have 30 bunt defenses, but we use two, right? Like let's just be really good at the 2 or 3 we're going to use. Make sure we got those and our timing and our picks off of them.
But that's where the
But we'll
throwing
start.
program comes into play too, because if you're playing catch with a purpose, like you're basically handling the ball in your catch play,
Exactly.
so it should take care of a lot of the stuff that you don't need to do during the season.
I agree. I agree. And then I think it also changes though too. Like maybe not first week, but like it's get week 3 or week 4 into a year. It's like, oh, all of a sudden we're doing X, Y, and Z a lot. We're not doing ABC at all. Okay, well that's what this team looks like this year. So A, B, and C, they're gone. Like, all right, we're going to go X, Y, Z and be really good at that. But we're gonna, California, our rules are a little bit different, right? Like we're going already. We don't really have to shut it down. We'll get to start playing some games here. Not under a high school flag, but under a club flag. And we hope by the time we get to December, like, it's pretty much weeded out. Like, and then when we kind of have an idea who's where, that's when we'll start adding, like, I call it baseball 304, like air it out 101 and 201. And we got to be really good at that. And then all right, dude, you're playing at this level. This is your role. This is what we're doing. Like now we start implementing how do we do different things off of looks? What are the different timings? Right now, if you see us in the fall, everything's going to look pretty vanilla. But that's just because we have to understand what step one is. And I don't need Brett Kay or John Weber seeing all our plays anyway. So I'm gonna hide those as long as I can.
Your guys' high school schedules, I think, much different than any other state, correct? Because it seems like when you guys are shut down, everybody else is going, and when you guys are going, everybody else is shut down.
Yeah, I mean technically we only have 3 weeks in the summer where we have no contact, a dead period, and then we can practice outside of that all we want. We You can't play under your high school name, but we all have every program out here has a club that they play under, so they're not you know coaching their high school team. And that's pretty much standard across the board with all programs, and that'll go up till last week of January, first week of February when we kick off season. I think second week of February this year. So
Love it. Do you have a fail forward moment? Do you have something you thought was going to sidetrack you, but looking back now was one of the best things that happened to you?
well, yeah, for sure. So when I was coaching in college, I was at an NAIA school, and I I was also getting my master's at that time in sport administration. So I was a finalist for a junior college job up in Oregon. I was in Northern California. I was a finalist for a JUCO job in Oregon. We go up there, everything was good, and the guy's like, "Look, man, I love you, but we gotta have someone with a master's already. Like he's got to be done with his program." I was like, "I get it, no problem." Great. At that time, I thought it was just a great experience going through an interview like that. Um, I get back home to Northern California, and my head coach at the time there hands me my paperwork and says, "You're not committed to my program." And I'm like, "Isn't this the job? Isn't this what we're supposed to do? Like you're supposed to?" Yeah. So I lost my job. um, like I said, I mentioned a little briefly, that was during the recession. Lost everything. Had a short sale and everything. Um, and that's when I got to come back home to California, or come back down to Southern California, reconnect with Bourbon. Um, and really, like, the Orange Lutheran thing's been great. I can't, I don't know if USA ever happens for me. I don't know if I'm at Orange Lutheran, if if I continued to work at that school, right? I just don't know what the trajectory would have been, but I know now what happened. So that was a time when it got really scary for my wife and I. We were married for like a year and a half, 2 years at that time, and we're like, what are we doing? But yeah, man,
How do you get off the mat? Because some people don't. A situation like that, you see it all the time. A
yeah.
lot of people don't get off the mat after that.
I gotta be honest. My wife looked at me and said, you told me you were going to coach baseball. I go, yeah. And she goes, you don't have a teaching degree. I go, I know. She goes, if we're going to make this work, right, what do we got to do? And I was like, I don't know. And she goes, we're making the move. We're making the move. We're going down. We're getting you back home where you know everybody. Because I was in Northern California. I grew up in Southern California, and my Northern California connections were just happening as I lived up there, right? So we're getting you. We're going. And next thing you know, my wife drops a very well-paying job, and she goes, "You got a dream and a passion, and I believe in you. Let's go." And next thing you know, we packed up and head down here, and yeah, I went through, the whole gamut of emotions, and yeah, now I'm sitting here talking with you, and life is good, man.
What are your day-to-day responsibilities outside of baseball at Orange Lutheran?
So I work in the athletic department. I am kind of a liaison between the business office or HR department and all them and athletics, because all of our coaches are paid hourly. So I do all the payroll stuff for our coaches. I handle CIF contracts with other schools. Any sort of incoming, outcoming of students comes through my office. So I just kind of I tell my AD I do everything he doesn't want to do. But yeah, no, it's a good gig. I work about 4 or 5 hours a day in the office, and then 4 or 5 hours a day on the field. If I need to swing a few extra hours on the field, it's all good. If I need to be a couple extra hours here, it's good. It's a good gig.
I did a Zoom chat with a JMU Masters or a Com 100 class last week, and that was one of my tips to them. I'm like, find out whatever your head coach or your oversight doesn't want to do and take that off their plate. I mean, it'll keep you around forever.
Yeah, they're really happy when you're doing the stuff they don't want to do. Yes.
Find out what they don't like and take that off their plate.
Yeah, I'm in a good spot because as the associate head baseball coach, like I don't really have to deal with the stuff that Eric has to go do. And, it's kind of like number 2, 3, 4 in the athletic department. Like I got to just have my little niche on both sides where people enjoy, I make people happy. I don't have to really make too many people mad. So it makes my life easy.
Do you have any evening or morning routines? I know you have young kids, so it's probably impossible to get anything done in the morning outside of trying to get your kids right.
No, my morning routine is actually really, really sound. I get up I let myself wake up though. I don't force myself to wake up. So that's typically 5:30, 6 o'clock in that range. Make sure I get some hydration in me, just some water. And then I come upstairs and I go through about 15, 20 minutes of stretching, breathing, and just kind of like getting my mind right. See if I can focus on my thoughts, release some things that I don't need to be in there. I really like the idea of being the observer of my thoughts and seeing them come and knowing which ones I don't need to react to. And I think that kind of lines me up. And then I go through a half hour.
Hey, how long have you been sitting? I mean, how long? I mean, that's a form of meditation. How long have you been sitting? How long has that been with you?
So off and on for 6, 8 years, 7, probably 10 years ago, I kind of tried it. But the last 2.5 to 3 years, it's been a really big part of kind of what I do on a daily basis.
I have to use the 5 senses to get to that point, focus on the 5 senses individually, and then I blend all 5 senses together. And usually that calms it down enough for me to be able to then get into my mantra, but it takes a little bit. And I think that's where a lot of people get out of meditation when they try, because they sit down and that monkey chatter is going to be going
Man,
insane.
it's
When you
when
first
you
do it, the monkey chatter in your brain is going to be going absolutely wild.
yeah, it's hard, man. I mean, it's hard to, especially, certain times of the year, you got different things going
Yep.
on. Car breaks down, and all of a sudden now you got to come up an extra couple thousand you weren't expecting. Like
Yep.
that thing can keep going in there. I'm a big believer in being able to control my thoughts. I feel like it makes me feel healthier. Um, so yeah, I do that, and then I go like a half hour ish of kind of dumbbell, lightweight work, body movement stuff. I just feel like it's keeping myself going. I'm 40 now, so I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to be a model or anything. I just want to be healthy, and I think mental health is super important.
Did you keep that during the World Cup? Did you stay on your routine?
Yeah, yeah,
I think it
pretty
helps,
close,
man. Helps.
pretty close. Yeah, I kind of did it a couple different ways. So typically, like at my house, I got my yoga mat. I'll get down on my mat that I kind of work on. Um, just because of the confines, we couldn't get into anywhere in terms of like a weight room or anything. I just kind of did it on my bed. I just kind of laid out and just found a spot, quiet. Maybe did a little. Usually, I won't use any type of music. I would put in a little bit of light music, earth tones or something like that, and just let myself kind of get into it. Because I didn't want to get all. I didn't want to change me, because then I didn't want to change how I typically react with kids or react in a tense situation. I felt like it was important to kind of keep myself on as much of the program as I could. Yeah.
I've been messing around with different frequencies now. So some beta, theta, delta, wave, different stuff, different times of the day, just to see. I'm always trying to mix different things in, because I think you kind of get into that routine sometimes. It's the same old, and then you kind of take it for granted. So I do
Right.
try to mix some different things in just to keep it fresh, and then you can always go back to what you were doing. I always
Yeah.
try to mix some different stuff in.
Yeah. I think it's important, man. And side note, like our mental health of our kids right now,
So, yeah.
man. Like if we can find a way to get them, I'm not saying you got to go full blown sheets and have them laid out on the ground every day, and like you know I mean, we do that. We got some guys a couple times a week that are laid out.
We usually did that on Fridays afterwards as a we early practice. We did more attention and focus stuff. So
Mhm.
whether it was box breathing with a body scan, I
Yeah.
wanted them seated pre-practice so they weren't vegged out. But then after post-practice, we would allow them to veg out sometimes. Especially we
Yeah.
would do yoga once a week, so that
I
was
mean
that was
that
our
that
time to be able to veg out.
yeah, that box breathing's huge. I mean,
Huge. Well, if it's good
um,
enough for the Navy SEALs, it's good enough for anybody. Like if the Navy
yeah, I think
SEALs
I'll
are
take
using box breathing, anybody should use box breathing to get
yeah,
your
I'll
physiology
take
back.
their advice on anything. Yeah, yeah. Like I think they figured some things out. So
The Huberman,
yeah,
Andrew Huberman's been great. I talked about this a while ago, but he introduced one. It's the double inhale and then it's a slower exhale. That one gets your physiology slowed down
yeah,
very quick. Andrew Huberman, the Huberman Lab podcast for anybody listening in, if you haven't, he takes really complex information and makes it digestible. He would have been a good professor. He's at
yeah,
Stanford. I would have loved to have taken his classes there because he takes really difficult information, makes it simple.
yeah. That's the key, right? I mean, even for yourself or for teaching others, right? Like keep it simple, keep it controlled, right? Don't panic. You've got it.
You guys have the same core concepts for Orange Lutheran every year, like your core covenants, they stay the same. Do you tweak them as you go?
Yeah, so our seniors get to pick a Bible verse every year. So that's a senior thing. They'll come up with a few words that come off of that. I mean, you walk in our baseball office and it's God, family, academics, baseball. Like, and we preach that. So those are kind of like our four main ones. In our talkings to the program this year, I've been talking about the concept of being an armored soldier and what that means to our guys, right? And it's the brotherhood, the never quit. We're going to go to the end, and whatever happens, we're going to be respectful to those around us. So that's kind of where I'm going with this. We have so many young kids in our program right now. Like it's so fun. Like we got the clay right now, man. So yeah, we're kind of, God, family, academics, baseball, and then, the armored soldier analogy is kind of where we're building right now. Yeah.
Do your guys' expectations change this year with a younger team? It doesn't, does it? Or it shouldn't, right?
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, we've been the number one team in the country and not won it. We have been the not number one team in the country and not won it. It's our goal is really the same, whether it's the talent, the known talent, or the guys who are about to make their name. Or I think this, to be honest, should go for if you are a little league coach, a high school coach, college coach, pro guy, like whatever level you have a player, like your job's to raise them just a little bit. Like my job is to get them ready to go play whatever college this guy's going to go to, or if he goes off into the medical field, like be ready to be professional enough to do that. Right. Youth coaches, your job is to get them ready to go compete to try and make a high school team. Right. A minor league coach's job is to coordinate whatever the hitting program is and see if that guy can hit in the bigs. Right. Like that's our ultimately, fundamentally, as a coach, that's what we're trying to do. So I think if we stay, with a younger group like we have this year, if we can stay with that, hey, we're just trying to get these guys better. Right.
How do you keep them centered in? I mean, recruiting is so early now. How do you keep those guys centered in on the process of getting better in high school and not worrying about all the other distractions?
It's man, if someone's got the answer for that, man,
that's a mental health component too. I mean, all that stuff feeds into the mental health piece too.
Every time a kid commits from wherever, and you see it on this thing, we have a guy going, man, I haven't committed yet. Right. And so we talk a lot. I mean, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. But we can look through a Rolodex of players that were early commits that did not end up where they originally said they were going to go. Yeah. Whether it be coaching staff left, whether it be, they didn't end up, whatever it might be.
We're trending with the divorce rates, by the way. I mean, that trends right along with the divorce rates in society.
Yeah, I mean, it's so we try and tell our guys, like, man, your path is different than somebody else's, right? If you are good enough and you stay humble enough and your mind's right, our connections will get you to play somewhere. Like, if you're good at, like, that might not be the SEC, buddy. You might not be a Power 5 guy, but we can find a place for you to go play if you want to. You have
a ton of non-Division ones in California that are great.
Yeah, I mean, you could go.
D1s are great, but you can go down to every level of college baseball in California. You have
great. You're going to find good ball. And especially, I mean, JUCO ball in California is finally. I mean, not that it's not been good. My JUCO coaches don't get mad at me, but like it's getting better because of, like the transfer portal and everything that's done there, and the year that the free. It's just. JUCO baseball now has got these dudes again.
It wasn't any different than what I saw. I went to the California Championship. It wasn't different than Enid. It wasn't different than Omaha. It wasn't different than the Division III. Like, this is the best time for college baseball. It's every level is great.
Yeah, I love it. And some of the campuses we have here that aren't Division I schools, man. I mean, it's beautiful. So, yeah, I mean. The kids just got to realize, like, yeah, we all want to be a D1 guy, right? But sometimes
not for everybody.
Yeah, sometimes the Division II option might be better for you as a player and a person, and so yeah, there's a lot of talk with that. And we have a little, because of the success Borbs has had here and the players that he's put out of here, right? Like kids walk in, and you could see it on some of them. Like, I'm here, so I'm supposed to do this. Right, I'm supposed to be the next this, and it's like we gotta just be you, right? Like you're not trying to be the next guy who already came through here, right? You just be you, you play you, right? There's a lot of pressure on the guys that not just our school, a lot of schools out there that are, successful year in and year out. Kids come in, and people in your community, when they see the logo, they have an expectation of the type of player that kid is supposed to be. The reality is, man, like. I don't know. We hope we got a bunch of them, but it doesn't happen every year, right? It's just back to the mental health side of it, right? Like the pressures these kids are putting on themselves to find that scholarship.
It comes from everywhere now. That's the sad thing for these kids is it is coming from everywhere. Like the expectations are coming from everywhere.
Yeah, they can't get away from it. No. They can't get away from it.
All right, what are some final thoughts or something I should have asked that I didn't?
No, man, it's, I could just sit here and talk with you all day. No, I think it's just, it's I'm super grateful for the opportunities that I've been given. And it's great to have won some championships at the high school level and the international level. It's great, but I just hope that all of us coaches we never just start chasing the wins and chasing the rings, and we just keep remembering like why we do what we do, right? I'm not in a classroom, but I consider myself an educator, right? I just happen to do it on dirt, and our ability to impact these young men both positively and negatively, like we have to understand like the role that we have in these young men's lives or these young ladies' lives, depending on what you're doing and how you're doing, and we're modeling things that they don't even realize they're grasping yet, and it's changing who they're going to be in 10 to 15 years. And if we just chase the wins, we're going to miss out on the opportunities to connect with these young people and give them a springboard into what we know is not an easy path in this life, right? I wish everything goes perfectly for everybody, but our reality is that's not the case. And it's okay for us to prep these kids for adversity and build them up when they need it to, and constructive criticism over negative criticism, right? We're dealing with a new age of young person, and as much as that sounds as kind of a cop out, it's just our reality right now. Parenting's changed a little bit, so kids are changing as our parents are changing, and I think as coaches and coaches and teachers, we gotta respect that and understand that, and change our ways a little bit so we can continue to positively impact the young people.
Thanks for your time, RJ. I'm so happy for you, man. It's an unbelievable summer.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you. I'm blessed.